Masturbation is one of the most common yet least openly discussed human behaviors. Across cultures, time periods, and belief systems, humans have engaged in self-stimulation, yet it remains surrounded by confusion, myths, guilt, and silence. From a psychological perspective, the fact that this behavior appears in nearly every society studied tells us something important. It is not random, and it is not new. It is rooted in how the human brain and body function. Understanding why humans masturbate requires looking beyond surface-level explanations and exploring the deeper psychological processes that influence behavior, emotion, learning, and culture. At the core of this behavior is the human brain's reward system. The brain is designed to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort, a mechanism that evolved to support survival. When humans experience something pleasurable, the brain releases chemicals such as dopamine, which reinforce behaviors associated with positive feelings. This system encourages activities like eating, bonding, and reproduction. Sexual pleasure activates the same reward pathways, and masturbation stimulates this system directly. Psychologically, the brain does not differentiate between pleasure gained through another person and pleasure generated individually. It simply registers reward and relief, which explains why masturbation can feel calming, enjoyable, or emotionally soothing. Another major psychological factor behind masturbation is curiosity. Humans are naturally curious beings, especially when it comes to their own bodies. As people grow and develop, they explore sensations, reactions, and emotions as part of understanding themselves. This process contributes to self-awareness and identity formation. Curiosity is not something that needs to be taught, it is an innate human trait. Masturbation can be one way the brain responds to this curiosity, allowing individuals to learn how their bodies react without involving others. From a psychological standpoint, this exploration is part of learning, not something that automatically carries moral meaning. Emotional regulation also plays a significant role. Humans do not seek pleasure only for enjoyment, but also for relief. Stress, loneliness, boredom, anxiety, and emotional overwhelm can increase the desire for comforting behaviors. Masturbation can temporarily reduce stress by lowering cortisol levels and activating calming brain responses. In this sense, the brain may use masturbation as a form of self-soothing. This does not mean it is the only or healthiest coping strategy in all situations, but it helps explain why urges often increase during emotionally challenging periods. The brain seeks what it knows will bring relief, especially when emotional resources are low. Learning and habit formation further explain why masturbation can become a repeated behavior. The human brain learns through association. When an action leads to comfort, pleasure, or emotional relief, the brain remembers it. Over time, this can turn into a habit. This process is not unique to sexual behavior. The same mechanism explains habits like checking a phone when bored, eating when stressed, or listening to music to calm down. Habits are learned patterns, not signs of weakness or failure. Understanding this removes judgment and replaces it with awareness, which is essential for psychological well-being. Imagination and fantasy are also important elements in this discussion. Humans have highly developed imaginations that allow them to think beyond the present moment. Fantasy provides a mental space to explore curiosity, attraction, and emotions without real-world consequences. Psychologically, fantasy is not the same as intention or action. The brain often uses imagination as a way to process feelings, questions, and desires safely. Masturbation often involves imagination because the brain plays an active role in creating pleasurable experiences, not just the body. This highlights how deeply mental this behavior truly is. Hormonal changes, particularly during adolescence, strongly influence sexual curiosity and behavior. Hormones affect mood, energy levels, attraction, and emotional sensitivity. During certain developmental stages, these changes can intensify sexual thoughts and urges. Psychology views this as a normal part of growth rather than a problem to be fixed. These fluctuations are temporary and vary from person to person. They do not define character, morality, or future behavior. Understanding this helps reduce fear and self-judgment during periods of change. One of the most powerful psychological aspects of masturbation is not the behavior itself, but the emotion surrounding it. In many cultures, masturbation is associated with shame, silence, or negative moral messages. When a natural behavior conflicts with cultural or social beliefs, it can create guilt and anxiety. Psychologically, guilt often arises when the body's signals clash with external expectations. This inner conflict can lead to secrecy, stress, and confusion. Learning about the psychology behind this behavior helps separate biological responses from cultural judgment and reduces unnecessary emotional distress. Misinformation has also played a major role in shaping negative attitudes. Throughout history, masturbation has been blamed for weakness, loss of intelligence, and mental illness. Modern psychology and science do not support these claims. Many of these myths originated from fear, lack of knowledge, or attempts to control behavior rather than evidence. Believing false information can increase anxiety and harm mental health. Education replaces fear with understanding and allows individuals to form healthier relationships with their own thoughts and behaviors. Psychology also recognizes that any behavior can become problematic if it begins to interfere with daily life. This is not unique to masturbation. Problems arise not from the behavior itself, but from imbalance. If a habit causes distress, avoidance of responsibilities, or emotional dependence, it may be a sign that deeper issues need attention. Psychology approaches this without blame. The goal is awareness and balance, not punishment or shame. Understanding personal triggers such as stress or boredom helps individuals make more intentional choices. Self-control is often misunderstood as suppression. In psychology, self-control comes from understanding, not fear. When people understand why they feel certain urges and what emotional needs those urges may represent, they gain the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react automatically. Balance does not mean denying pleasure. It means recognizing when a behavior supports well-being and when it may be replacing healthier coping strategies. Awareness creates freedom, while shame creates cycles of guilt. Education is essential because silence creates confusion. When people are not given accurate information, they fill the gaps with fear, myths, or self-blame. Psychology does not judge human behavior, it explains it. Understanding why humans masturbate helps reduce shame, normalize curiosity, and promote healthier mental attitudes. Knowledge allows individuals to make informed choices rather than acting out of fear or misinformation. In conclusion, psychology shows that humans masturbate for many interconnected reasons. Brain chemistry, curiosity, emotional regulation, habit formation, imagination, hormones, and cultural influences all play a role. It is not caused by weakness or moral failure, but by natural psychological processes. Understanding these processes replaces guilt with awareness and fear with clarity. The human brain is complex, and learning how it works is one of the most powerful tools for improving mental health and self-understanding.